What's going on, everyone? We're back inside the studio. Joining me today is John Santer, Springfield College Sports Information. How you doing today, John?
Good. How you doing, Nick? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming on. I was just in class with Kyle, actually, and it was funny. We were just talking to, we just had someone FaceTime in to talk to us, and it was actually one of your old radio hosts right here on the station, Joe Brown.
What can Brown do for you?
So Joe Brown was on with us, and he was like, you know who was one of my co-hosts was John Santer, and then Kyle got into a story about how you guys, you and Kyle went down to his wedding down in Pennsylvania together in the car all day long, and he said, and Brown was like, yeah, I wish I was a fly on the wall for that car ride.
Yeah, we spent 10 hours in the car going down to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
I can only imagine what you guys were talking about.
We got lost on the way down there, so we actually spent like 5.5 hours going down there, but on our way back, Kyle, he won't admit this, but he was a really bad passenger, and he fell asleep for the entire ride home. So I was sitting there watching him snore like the father that he is with two young children. But no, we had a fun time. And 5 short years ago, I was just sitting in here with Joe Brown. It was my 5th year of college, and we had a radio show for Kyle's advanced radio class and our show is actually called Jock versus Nerd. Joe is the nerd, I was the jock. I played 4 years of men's lacrosse
Not
at
a big
Springfield
deal.
College, and Joe is Joe is kind of the guy that was more or less the glasses and tucked in shirt to his pants kind of guy.
Now that's you.
Yeah, exactly. now we've reversed roles. So
he was kind of throwing a couple jabs at you. I don't mean to throw him under the bus. He was like, well, can John ever get out of Springfield? What do you have to say to that?
Springfield's my home, man.
Yeah,
I've been
I
here
know.
for 10 years, and I love this place. It's an amazing institution. I love my role at Springfield College. I love the coaches and student athletes that I get to work with on an everyday basis. But with that being said, you never know what's down the road for me. So I'm just always continuing to try to get better and climb the ladder of the athletic administration. And I'm working on my master's. I'm closing in on completing that in the next couple of years or so. So once that's completed at Springfield, we'll see.
That's awesome, man. No better transition into what we were going to talk about today is a couple points of pride here for Springfield College Athletics, who had a great postseason, had a great fall season. Springfield did, especially your teams. We'll start off with men's soccer and women's soccer to start it off. Men's soccer, NUMAC champions. They defeated Babson the other day, 1-0. Christian Snyder with the goal, 87 minutes into it to advance to the NCAA tournament. And they'll play Ramapo this weekend. Or when is that game scheduled for?
The game is going to be on Saturday. At
1:30. This year they ended up going 14-4-1. That's through the NUMAC tournament under a first-year head coach in Tommy Crable. And with the turnover of a coach, the loss of the recruits that comes with that, and their backs a little bit against the wall coming into the NUMAC this year, especially after last season, falling to WPI, and obviously still getting a bid into the tournament last year, but it just seemed like they were facing a ton of adversity coming into the season, and to do what they were able to do with the roster they had was definitely very impressive.
Yeah, what Tommy Crable in his first year has been able to do with our men's soccer team has been unbelievable. Like you said, they're 14-4-1. They just recently won a NUMAC championship. They have an unbelievable senior class. They have 6 seniors that have been here for 4 years, and they've been able to at least raise a trophy each of the 4 years. Their freshman years, they won ECAC men's soccer tournament. 2 years ago, in 2016, they won the NUMAC championship over Wheaton, 3-1 win. Last year they won a NUMAC regular season title. It was our first regular season title since 1999, and then obviously with this year winning the NUMACs and going back to the NCAAs for the 3rd straight season, it's it's an unbelievably strong class. They're very talented. They take it upon themselves to lead a group of underclassmen, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. A lot of them didn't have playing experience until they came in this year. One of those in particular, our starting senior center back, his name's Ian Zakarowicz, and he had started 4 games in his college career, and he started 17 games for us this year, and he's been an unbelievable asset in the back for us. And what people don't realize is we went through that entire NUMAC championship tournament. We didn't allow a goal. We had played almost 350 straight minutes of scoreless soccer with WPI.
Yep.
In NUMAC semifinals, we ended up beating them 1-0. And then turned around and held a Babson team, which was the top seed in the tournament, to 0 goals over 90 minutes of play. And obviously Christian was able to bury one in the 88th minute, which lifted us to victory. But, it's been an unbelievable fun team to watch. One of the interesting parts of the schedule is that they only had 1 home game in the month of September. Mm-hmm. So we didn't really get to see them. And then they had 8 home games in the month of October. So, they got to play a lot of home games. They got to play a lot of important home games. which obviously, like you said, ended up helping them win a NEWMAC championship. But yeah, what Tommy Crable's been able to do with that team has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better yourself. Front half of the schedule was definitely a way loaded. They were on the road a lot, but to be able to have them come back and play a bunch of games, conference and non-conference at Brock Affleck was big for them. A key game for them was I think the Western New England game as well. A little bit of a rivalry matchup. We obviously know the history there with some of the players from Springfield's past heading over to Western New England. It's always a lot on the line there. It's a big non-conference game. It's a big regional ranking game. A tough one, but I think that the guys really rallied back from that game and were able to make their big run. I think a lot of it has to do with their non-conference schedule and then a bunch of good conference games at home as well.
Yeah, the Western New England game is always a fun one. I was there last year when we beat them 1-0 at Lusitano Stadium, which is a local. It's a Premier League soccer stadium out in Ludlow, Massachusetts. But that was a crazy game. The crowd was really into it. The Western New England fans were really having it. But there's good banter between Springfield College and Western New England per usual. To have that game switch back to Springfield College this year was really great. We definitely had a lot of athletic administrators on site just in case things got out of hand in the crowd. But no, Western New England scored early. The goal scorer and the two people that assisted on the play were all Springfield people. I believe Charlie Argyle scored. He was on our team last year, and then the assists were from Connor Prindle, who played for us 2 years ago, and Brendan Claflin, who played last year. But the great part of our Springfield College men's soccer team is their come from behind type of team. They're the type of team that looks at those goals, and I believe it was Ian Zakariewicz that said after the game, he said, we weren't too worried about that when they scored. We knew that we had the game in control, and we knew we were going to come back and get the job done. So I think that was in a string of 3 consecutive come from behind victories for the Pride, which was really interesting because I was talking to head coach Tommy Crable after the game, and I said, hey, Coach, that's your 3rd straight come-from-behind victory. And he says, you know what, I spent 5 years at Williams, and we didn't have one come-from-behind victory. So if anything else, that talks a lot about the culture that's within that program this year.
Definitely a lot of resiliency. They poured it on in that second half against Western New England, and that's just kind of the team they were. Looked like their backs were a little bit against the wall at their home game versus WPI, too. And especially a defensive-minded game like that and then being able to put one in late. They were a great second half team all year. Talk a little bit about the matchup here. They'll play Ramapo in the first round. Talk a little bit about that matchup and where they're headed to play and what that's going to be like.
Yeah, Ramapo's a really interesting matchup. To start you off, we're playing at Connecticut College down in New London, Connecticut. That's the host of the 4-team pod. The 4 teams in the pod are Connecticut College, Thomas, which is the NAC champion or the North Atlantic Conference champion out of Maine, and then there's us, and then there's Ramapo, who Ramapo earned an at-large bid. They lost in the NJAC championship to Montclair State 5-0. But here's the stats on Ramapo. They have one forward. He's a junior. He's 6'7", and he has 56 points on the year on 27 goals.
He gets up there for headers.
Yeah. So he's got 27 goals. He leads Division 1, 2, and 3 in terms of goal scoring in men's soccer, in collegiate men's soccer. So. He's a 6'7" forward, like you said. He probably gets up above defenders and scores a lot of header goals. But that's the scouting report on them. It's 2 teams that have never seen each other. It's 2 teams that if they're anything like any other Ramapo College team that we faced. Obviously, last year we were down at the NCAA Final Four in men's basketball, and Ramapo was playing. They were playing down there. They played against University of Wisconsin Oshkosh and at the Final Four. So there was some interface between Ramapo, but they're going to be a scrappy team. They're going to come to play. Anytime you get to this time of the year, then it's anybody's game. So, and then obviously you got the other matchup, which is Connecticut College and Thomas. Like I said, Thomas was the NAC champion this year, and then Connecticut College, which has been one of the better teams in New England all season long, I think. And last week's NCAA regional rankings, Connecticut College was number 1. The end of year rankings just came out from the United Soccer Coaches, and they're ranked 24th in the country. So, boasting a 12-2-2 record, they're a team that's really strong. So if we were to be able to defeat Ramapo on Saturday, and Connecticut College was to be able to take care of business with Thomas, then Springfield Connecticut College matchup will be great. The games can be played down at Connecticut College. It's on grass field. Thomas, Ramapo, and Springfield do not play on grass field, so that'll be at a little bit of a competitive disadvantage versus Connecticut College. Connecticut College and Thomas will play the morning game, so they'll play at 11 a.m., and then our Springfield men's team will play Ramapo at 1 o'clock, and the winners will play at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Are you making the drive down,
John? Yeah, I'm going to be there.
London? I'm
going on Friday night, yeah, so we have an administrators meeting on Friday night at 6 o'clock down at Connecticut College, which I'll be a part of, and then I'm going to stay over with the team, and then I'll be down there on Saturday. So
nice, should be good. And as you mentioned, Ramapo, very strong athletic history, rich athletic postseason history with Ramapo, as they're always find themselves in whatever sport it is late in the tournament every year. So should be a good matchup there. Now we'll move on to another team that's made it into the tournament. Women's volleyball earned an at-large bid in the JWU division there, and they'll play Man Maritime down at Johnson and Wales. They took an L to Babo in the NUMAC home final at home. That was a great game that they played. A lot of energy in Blake Arena, but Babson came out on top, and they earned the NUMAC auto bid into the tournament. It should be a good matchup for women's volleyball, and they're in a conference they can make a run in here in the postseason.
Yeah, they're in a pod that's, it's obviously Johnson & Wales is one of the better teams in our region, and, what Coach Moore-Long has been able to do in her 7th year at Springfield has been unbelievable. We talk about the success of the men's soccer team and Tommy Crable coming in as a first-year head coach, but what Moore-Long's been able to do, she was the NUMAC Coach of the Year for a reason. Last year they were 15-14 overall, and they've come back and they're 23-7 going into the NCAA tournament. Her recruiting class was unbelievable. She's got, Sarah Labadorf, who's a setter out of North Carolina. She's a freshman. She just was announced as a NUMAC Rookie of the Year. People like Brianna Tovar, who's their starting libero, who started every single match for us at libero. Ashley Tanner on the outside. They've been really, really strong from the bottom up. But we talk about the senior class of the men's soccer team, and just as comparable as the senior class of the women's volleyball team. Get Jen Donnelly, Haley Kometz, Hannah Lozano, and who am I missing?
You're missing. You mentioned Jen, Haley,
we got Jen,
Hannah.
Haley, Hannah, and
how are we blanking on this?
Oh yeah, Laura Townsend.
Yes.
Those four have been unbelievable leaders for this underclass group, and they've been obviously it's been on the back of the leaders. Jen's a returning All-American. Haley Kometz has been great on the right side for us, and Hannah Lozano has really stepped up for us at libero and defensive specialist. So, the sky's the limit. This is the first time since 2013 that they had the top overall seed in the NUMAC tournament. First time since 2013 that they played for a NUMAC championship. So. We're hoping that it's going to be the first time since 2013 that they go back to the Elite Eight. I'm
starting to think Brian and I have bad mojo inside Blake Arena, because the last couple of conference games we've done, playoff games in there, we've been Springfield basketball's lost to WPI last year in the semis, and then the Babo women's volleyball loss. So not looking good for us right now.
Yeah, but the two results of that, obviously we lost to WPI in the NUMAC men's basketball semifinal last year, but the men's basketball team went on to go to the Final Four. And
Kyle Binder loves to give us good news.
Yeah,
or who was it yesterday for women's volleyball? The host.
Oh yeah, I think I don't
know who that guy is, but it sounded like the same guy.
It could have been Ralph.
Anyways, so they'll take on Maine Maritime. When is that game?
That game will be at 3 o'clock on Friday. Yeah, and then they'll play the winner of. Do you have the bracket in front of you? I'm not sure.
I don't. I can pull it up in 1 second though.
But yeah, that game's on Friday at 3 o'clock down at Johnson & Wales in Providence, Rhode Island. So. It's a good matchup for them, the Mariners, and then obviously working your way through the pod. If they were to win, they would move on to the round of 32, and then if they were to win that game, obviously they go to the Sweet 16 and play for a regional championship.
You mentioned Coach Long again. I think this is her third time now as a NUMAC Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. What she was able to do, like you mentioned, is very impressive with her recruiting class. Who she was able to bring in and what kind of matchup she was able to put on the floor, and it definitely helped the Pride all season long. Talk about her decision to let Haley Kometz stay in there and serve this year after, obviously having a down year serving, really trusting her senior class, trusting Jen to get back in the offense after a slow start, and just her trusting their team and especially heading into this championship round.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about seniors is that this is the time as a coach. This is the time of the year that you really rely on them, because they're the ones that have been there before. They're the experienced ones. They're the ones that you're going to lean on the most in order to get it done. So I think that keeping Haley in to serve, I think that's just a testament to her being a senior. I remember sitting at the NUMAC championship semifinals 2 years ago when we lost to Clark, and that game was at MIT. And, it was one of those matches where just nothing was going right. Free balls were going into the net. We were missing easy serves. But as a sophomore, the one person that came off the bench was number 13, Haley Kometz, and she just balled out. And that's just what you get.
Something that she can do.
Yeah, you just get that. You get that from her because she's so locked in and she's such a focused student athlete, and she's got the intensity that rises in those situations, in those big pressure situations. She's the type of person. I think on Saturday, and you were there to firsthand witness this,
right.
But that type of person was Bridget Walsh. She came in set 2 and then started set 3 and set 4 because she had the hot hand. But, this is the time of year where those people come out of the woodwork. The competitors, the people that don't shy away from the big moment, the people that are going to, bring their A game when it matters the most.
Yeah, definitely. And then talk a little bit about Labradorf again. Great setter in her first year, and she obviously made her way all the way to the NUMAC Rookie of the Year. Who was named to the first team NUMAC first setter? Do we know whose setter was named? Probably Babson.
Yeah, I believe Babson.
Yeah, she had a great NUMAC championship run, obviously named most outstanding player. So, okay, good to see Labradorf named to the second team, and then Jen Donnelly named to the first team as well.
Yeah, and the great thing about Sarah is, I don't know if there's any Notre Dame football fans out there, but, everybody's been talking about Ian Book and his ability to distribute to different receivers. I think that Sarah Labradorf is a really good comparison of that. She distributes the ball, and that's the number one rule of the game is she's able to work pin to pin. Some setters fall into they play favorites. They know that they're big arms on the pins, and they feed them. But Sarah does a great job of working in the middle. They've been running a lot out of the middle this year. With Katie Von Campen and Cameron Bancroft. Cameron's second on our team in total kills, and I think Katie's fourth. So she's been doing a really good job of utilizing the middle. Yeah. And just when the teams collapse and they send 3 blockers to the middle, she's hitting the outside pins with Jen and Haley Kometz on the outside. So it's a little shameless plug for Notre Dame, but it's a really good comparison because Ian Book is the type of quarterback that's going to find his slot guys. He's going to find his outside guys. He's going to find his tight end. And Sarah Labradorf is basically that for Springfield College women's volleyball. She's going to find everybody on the court.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Really good job at distributing evenly that offense for Springfield and that offensive attack. And she's not afraid to take it herself either.
Yeah, exactly. She's
nice little dump
quick.
play.
Yeah,
she's
got really soft hands.
We'll move on now. Unfortunately, women's soccer failed to earn an at-large bid following their loss in the finals to MIT on the road. But once again, they'll host the ECACs this weekend at home. A couple teams coming in are John Jay, Wilkes University, and Mount St. Mary College. They put together another impressive campaign, and they entered the postseason with a 14-5-1 record. But, they were no match for MIT, unfortunately. And obviously, with a very tough schedule, one of the toughest in the regions, as you put it earlier in the press release as well. They played 4 nationally ranked teams this year. Their future is really bright. But again, they're stuck hosting the ECACs. Yeah,
and that's a really disappointing thing for our women's soccer team. But, with the negative, there always comes the positive. And, the positives with the ECAC tournament is that, you get your underclassmen to play in postseason experience, right? So when they do get that chance to go back to the NCAA tournament, it won't be the first time that these freshmen, sophomore, and junior class experiences a game where they can't lose. If you lose, you go home. So that's, to gain that mental advantage over other teams and, to put that work in now is really important for John Gibson, the women's soccer team. Like you said,
a lot of teams stray away from the ECAC, think there's no gain from it. But you're saying here that Springfield will get really good experience.
Yeah, no, it's tournament play, it's postseason play, and at the end of the day, Coach Gibson likes to tell his team that there are one of 20 teams that are still competing in the country. One of 20 teams still playing women's soccer at this time of the year. And that it's a unique spin. It's an interesting spin. Obviously, it's tough to get the seniors on board who just went through the losing the NUMAC championship and not getting into the NCAA tournament. But it's a cultural thing, and this is the 3rd straight year that they'll be the top overall seed for the ECAC championship tournament. They've won it the past 2 years. One of the positives that I see come out of the ECAC tournament is that if you win the ECAC tournament, your senior class is leaving college and they're leaving collegiate soccer with a victory.
Yeah. Which they've done the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, playing lacrosse here for 4 years, we lost in the NCAA tournament every year, and that was the end of our seasons, right? So my last collegiate lacrosse game, we ended on a loss. We went down to Cabrini and we lost, I think it was like 16-5 to Cabrini down in Pennsylvania. And, that really leaves a salty taste in your mouth. But, if there's an opportunity to raise a trophy and celebrate with your teammates one last time before you're done, before you hang the cleats up, then that's the first-class student-athlete experience that we talk about here at Springfield.
Another advantage, too, Saxfax gets to stay in the booth. Sax just coming in. Let's go. It's time for ECAC. So Saxfax gets another season. There's another life for Saxfax.
There's no one more excited about the ECAC women's soccer tournament than Kevin Sax is.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing his coverage continue. Last thing here I want to get to for Springfield College Athletics, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about here for a little bit. But the field hockey team, unfortunately, could not advance to the finals of the NUMAC tournament. Smith defeated them, number 3 seed Smith, and they won the NUMACs for the first time in their program history. So good for Smith, and congratulations to them for making it straight into the right into the NCAA postseason this year. Nussbaum, Conley, and Ash all named to the NUMAC All-Conference honors, and Kira Ash tabbed NUMAC Rookie of the Year. So future is bright there for Springfield College field hockey. Tough for them to not advance further than we thought they would, but obviously a great matchup against Smith. Smith hosted the 5-seed MIT, hung them to defeat them, got into the NUMAC finals, and advanced to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, Smith was a really good team. I had the opportunity to work the Smith game during the regular season, and they beat us 5-0 on our own field. It was a rainy night. It was tough, but Smith was a really strong side. They moved the ball really well. They're really athletic through the middle. They have some solid defenders and some people that can score the ball. So, they were a tough component, but, at the end of the day, we played them in the NUMAC Championship semifinals. Babson had lost earlier that day, so we knew that being the 2 seed, if we were to win the game, then the NUMAC Championship would be played at Springfield College, which is always a really exciting moment. And I think we didn't get our first shot in that game until midway through the second half, and I think that just speaks to Smith's athleticism on the defensive end of the ball. Their ability to cause turnovers and push transition the other way was really great. Just over talking to Coach Sharp and looking at the film, and you mentioned it earlier, but we did have 3 players on first team all conference. Taylor Conley, who was the 2016 NUMAC Rookie of the Year, she kind of went through a little bit of a sophomore slump scoring wise, but rebounded great this year. I think she had over 20 goals, which was awesome.
Had a great season for sure.
Had an awesome junior season, and her and Belle Capone as the only juniors on the team will look to translate into a really strong senior class for them. Amanda Nussbaum was unbelievable this year, and she's a dual sport athlete at Springfield College. I'm going to miss her so much when she's gone because, just watching her dominate in field hockey and then turn around and be one of the most instrumental parts of our women's lacrosse team and the success that they've had over the past 4 years has been great. And, Amanda's just a pleasure to watch. She's a really good athlete. She's really fast. And the best part of Amanda is, she's pretty much as Springfield College as it gets in terms of, providing service for others. And there's no truer service to other than, assisting a lot of goals. And Amanda broke a single season and career assist record for us during this season. To go out and finish her collegiate field hockey career with, establishing herself as one of the most prolific field hockey players and our storied history of field hockey here at Springfield College is a nod to her. And then lastly, Kira Ash, to step in as a freshman and be named first team all conference is obviously a testament to the talent that she has and the talent that she has worked really hard for. She comes from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, which is only about 10 minutes away from Springfield College. It's a really, really, really strong field hockey program in high school, and their feeder programs below that are even better. A fun fact about Kira is that her father, Brian Ash, is actually one of 2 state representatives for the state of Massachusetts in Hampden County.
That's really cool, yeah.
Yeah, so she's she's pretty tied in, and then her father comes to all the games and he's really supportive and whatnot. And
Santer facts.
Yeah, Santer facts right there. You get Sax facts and you get Santer facts. But the field hockey team was really impressive this year. They finished 12-6. 3 years ago they had 2 seasons about 500 play. They were 10-10, and I think they were 9-10 the year after. But the last couple of years they've gone to the NUMAC championship. They went to the NUMAC championship last year. They played Babson, and then obviously they lost in the semifinals this year. But there's no doubt that the field hockey team for Coach Sharp is on the rise.
I'd be remiss right now if I forget to mention with Dougie Shane in studio, the NECC golf champions. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't mention them.
Yeah, I was there.
I know you were. You got some good vid.
Yeah, at Stowe Acres when we watched the the 5 guys on our golf team claim an NECC championship, and it was awesome. The leadership on that team is great. I had a chance to get to know Mike Strong and his father that day, and
don't pump up Mike's ego here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being a former captain of our men's lacrosse team at Springfield College, and going through learning a lot in my master's degree about supervision and mentoring, and really doing a lot of studying on leadership. I think that Mike Strong is, and I wrote him a nice email after the NECC championship, but to be able to make a personal sacrifice for someone else, and one of your own teammates, and watch him win an NECC individual championship was great. It's kind of a funny thing I noticed over the 18 holes of golf, but Mike had a great start. I think he went par birdie on his start at Stowe Acres, and Jake Reichley, who ended up winning the individual championship, when he bogeyed the first hole, he bogeyed the second hole, and came back with a birdie on the third hole. And it was after the second hole that Mike Strong, the junior captain of the team, walked up to Jake Reichley and put his arm around him and told him that it was going to be all right and stop getting frustrated. Jake came back with a birdie and then was really solid from there on out. He finished 2 over. Mike finished 3 over. Mike finished 4 over and lost the individual championship by 1 stroke. But as a captain, to take a sophomore and that you're competing against for an individual championship, and and spend so much of your mental mental capacity on coaching another student athlete and worrying about your teammate, and not necessarily focusing on your own game, and it was really great to see, and it was really a testament to Mike's leadership.
Yeah, I mean, the golf team beat all odds this year. It was a conference that was definitely dominated by Babson the last couple of years. So obviously the challenge of Babson was out of the way there. But for them to win the conference championship was great for the program and great to move forward. I think the trophy's still sitting in my apartment right now. Honestly, I don't think Mike's ready to give it back to you guys just yet.
Yeah, and it's a great recruiting tool for Coach Edie. The more conference the more conference championships that you win, the more conference golfer of the years, the more conference coach of the year awards you win, the more attractive it is for recruits. So in terms of building that program up and making it a nationally relevant program once again, would be awesome for Coach Edie, and he's done such a great job, and he's such a great teacher of the game, and he's the type of leader that took a backseat role this year and let Mike kind of do his thing, and it was really great to see.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for recapping all the fall sports with us, and we're looking for a couple long runs in the NCAA tournament for sure. And then we'll have you in again for the winter sports preview coming up. We got basketball just 2 days away right now. Yeah, I mean, men's basketball starts at Western New England at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. Really excited about that. That's always a really good rivalry. It's a respected rivalry between the two teams. But yeah, Jake Ross and the gang are back at the birthplace. The birthplace boys are back in Blake Arena soon enough. It's a really exciting team to follow and to watch. And on the other side of that, we have our women's basketball team. They'll start play up on Saturday up at MCLA in North Adams, Massachusetts. That game's at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. Really strong freshman class Coach Graves has this year. They have Gracie Zindelet. She's a freshman point guard. She'll back up Alex Goslin. Amanda Carr, who's probably she's my size, and she plays in the post and she can stroke it from 3. So really exciting things from Coach Graves and Coach Brock this year, and it should be a really, really, really fun basketball season at the birthplace. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back Thursday, Rob and I, with our predictions for the Springfield away opener against Western New England. John, I want your quick prediction now, and then we'll wrap up.
Quick prediction over Western New England on Thursday. I think that Springfield College is going to win. I think they're going to win 84-70. I think Jake Ross is going to go for 24 points and 16 rebounds. I think Heath Post is going to have...
It's a big night.
Yeah, I think that Heath Post is going to have 14 points and 8 rebounds, and I think Camerell is going to sink. I think he's going to go for 12 points, all on 3-pointers.
All right. Well, right now, Rob and I won't spoil our predictions for that one. We'll bring those to you on Thursday during our show. But John, thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate having you on, and we're looking forward to have you on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And obviously, I'm a quick 2-minute walk right away from you guys. So whenever you want me to come back and talk about, I'm more than welcome.
We appreciate it. So we'll be back Thursday at 2 o'clock as always. Playing with Pride. Thanks again to John Santer. With Rob Dickey, I'm Nick Pernick. We'll be back on Thursday.
Thanks again.
Hey, what's up? This is John Cena. You are listening to WSCB 89.9, The Birthplace. My time is now. You can't see me. My time is now. 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 My time is now
Bye. I might be too strung out on compliments.